No courts, no judges, no lawyers billing you by the hour. For services rendered in language you do not fully understand. No prisons, no police departments, no municipal code violation notices. Left passively aggressively on your door while you are out running errands. No institution of any kind dedicated to the formal, organized, state-sanctioned administration of justice. And someone in your group just took your food without asking. Or treated someone unfairly without provocation. Or kept taking more than their share at every single communal meal. While everyone else quietly seethed and said nothing individually. Because nobody wanted to be the one to start something. Or they started behaving in ways that made the rest of the group feel unsafe. Erratic, violent, unpredictable. The kind of person whose presence transforms the social atmosphere of a small band. From cooperative and functional into tense, watchful, and quietly exhausted.
Let's think this through. I've got it. The key is in the heat.
This is not a rhetorical question designed to make you feel grateful for modern institutions. It is one of the most important practical problems ancient humans faced continuously. Across hundreds of thousands of years of existence, and they solved it. Not with stone tablets, not with written law, not with any formal institution. They solved it with something older, more flexible, more socially intelligent. And in some ways, more genuinely egalitarian than anything that came after it. And the way they solved it tells us something profound about where every legal system came from. Because here is the thing most people have never been told. The impulse to punish is not a product of civilization. It was running in a recognizably functional and remarkably sophisticated form. In small bands of hunter-gatherers, long before any of that existed. Humans were building justice systems before they built walls. Let's go through exactly how it worked. And then what happened when civilization arrived and decided to formalize everything. First, you have to understand the social context of pre-agricultural life. Because the context changes everything about what punishment meant. Pre-agricultural hunter-gatherers. The people we are talking about when we say ancient humans in this context lived in small, highly mobile bands of typically 20 to 50 individuals. Everybody knew everybody. You couldn't hide your behavior for long. You couldn't develop a carefully cultivated reputation as a generous and trustworthy person in one part of town, while quietly behaving very differently somewhere else. because there was no other part of town. The community was the entire social world. And it was observing everything you did continuously. Because in a group that size, there is effectively no private behavior. That the group doesn't eventually learn about through proximity, observation.
And the oldest information network in human history, which is gossip. This created a social environment radically different from modern anonymous urban life in one critical way.
Your reputation in time. Your reputation was not merely socially important.
It was existential in the most literal sense of the word.
Your survival. Your access to shared resources. Your reproductive prospects, your ability to call on collective help when you were vulnerable. All of it flowed directly from your standing within the group. Destroy your reputation, and you didn't lose social status in the way a modern person loses social status. You lost access to everything the group made possible.
Which, in a Paleolithic environment, was essentially everything that separated you from an extremely difficult solo existence. In a landscape full of predators, unpredictable food availability,
and no institutional safety net of any description.
This is the foundation on which the entire pre-agricultural justice system rested.
Not law, not authority, not force supplied by designated officials.
The foundation was interdependence and the awareness of interdependence.
And the understanding, shared, implicit, never needing to be written down. That your continued membership in good standing within this specific group of people was the single most important asset you possessed.
And documented their social control mechanisms in landmark works.
Most notably his book, Hierarchy in the Forest, published by Harvard University Press.
His conclusion, reached after systematically analyzing data from 48 distinct human societies.
Representing the full geographic range of human hunter-gatherer experience.
Was both elegant and genuinely counterintuitive to modern assumptions. Hunter-gatherer societies were not anarchic.
They did not operate on pure individual survival instinct with no social regulation.
They were intensely, deliberately, collectively egalitarian.
And they maintained that egalitarianism through a sophisticated multi-stage system of social enforcement. That operated without any formal institution, designated authority, or written rule of any kind.
Bohm called it the reverse dominance hierarchy. And the name captures something important.
In most primate societies, the powerful dominate the weak. Rank is established through strength, maintained through intimidation.
And the bottom of the hierarchy submits, because the top can credibly hurt it. Power flows downward.
Hunter-gatherers flipped this entirely.
In band societies, the collective, the group, as a unified social entity, dominated the individual. If anyone started accumulating more than their share of food,
More status than the group was comfortable with. More influence over decisions than a peer among equals was supposed to have.
the group closed ranks against them.
Not through any formal process, through coordinated, sustained, escalating social pressure.
That started soft and became progressively harder until the problem was either resolved or removed. The system had stages, clear, consistent, documented stages.
The first stage was gossip. And before you dismiss that as trivial, hear out what gossip actually does in this context.
Because it is doing serious work. In the hunter-gatherer setting, gossip is not idle social entertainment. When someone began behaving in ways the community found unacceptable, hoarding food, bullying weaker members, cheating at sharing, free riding on the labor of others while contributing substantially less than expected.
The community started talking about it, not to the offender's face initially, among themselves. Narrator says, building shared understanding that this specific person's specific behavior was a specific problem. Developing consensus, coordinating a collective interpretation of events before any public action was taken. So that when public action did arrive, it arrived with the full weight of unanimous community opinion, rather than as an individual accusation that the offender could dismiss or retaliate against personally.
Anthropological research on modern hunter-gatherer populations consistently finds gossip serving precisely this regulatory function.
It is the early warning system, the community newsletter, the consensus building mechanism, and the social verdict delivery system, all operating simultaneously in casual conversation. Before any formal sanction is applied in these communities, the community has already reached an informal, distributed verdict.
Through thousands of small conversations that together constitute a kind of collective social trial.
The offender usually knows the gossip is happening.
In a group of 30 people living in constant proximity, you can feel the shift in social temperature. The conversations that stop when you approach. The sharing that happens slightly less fluidly. Because they understand, without anyone spelling it out explicitly, what the next stages look like.
And what the end point of the process is if they don't correct course.
This is deterrence without a criminal code.
If gossip failed to produce the necessary correction, the second stage was public criticism and ridicule. In a small band society, public ridicule is not a minor social discomfort that you survive and eventually forget about. It is a serious social event, with lasting structural consequences. When the community decides to confront an offender's behavior openly, naming it, mocking it, calling it out explicitly in a context where everyone present understands exactly what is happening.
The target is receiving a very precise communication.
Pending behavioral correction.
Your status is being publicly revised downward in a way that everyone witnesses. Boehm's research found this pattern with striking consistency across cultures separated by thousands of miles. It is the early warning system, the community newsletter, the consensus-building mechanism.
Before any formal sanction is applied in these communities, the community has already reached an informal, distributed verdict.
Through thousands of small conversations that together constitute a kind of collective social trial.
The impulse it was built around was already fully formed before any of it existed.